All right. Hey, everybody. Thank you so much for tuning in to the first ever episode of Industrial Souls. And in this show, I really hope to get to know the people behind the machinery of in the industrial manufacturing arena from every different aspect of it. And really, what I mean by that is not just what people do, but who these people are and really what makes them tick, what drives them, and what's unique about them. What do they uniquely bring into this space? I'm sure we'll talk about business, but really, I'm hoping that in these conversations, we'll be able to dig a little deeper in that, get a little more personal than that, and just really have fun and get to know each other a little better. And you are in for a treat because the first guest that I have for you today is Eddie Saunders Jr. Now, you've undoubtedly seen Eddie around. You've seen his, shining, brilliant, amazing smile, which I hope I can say, bro, and not make you feel awkward. And you have, seen his awesome energy because unless you live under a rock, I mean, he's certainly not hiding. He's out all over the place. So today, I think what we're going to find out is that there's a heart behind that matches that energy. So let's find out. Hang in for a second because things are about to get industrial. Dum dum da 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 dum dum da 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 dum dum da 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 dum da 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 da. Hey man, good to see you. Thanks for coming on.
Oh, yo, man, pleasure to be here and talk all things wonderful and be hanging out with you, my guy.
Yeah, you too. I know we've talked many times over the years, but actually we've never met. I just had this conversation too with Joe Lewin. I'm like, man, we've talked so many times, but we've never physically met. I kind of had like a brush with fame at the Industrial Marketing Summit, and I think I came out of the elevator and you went in, or something like that. But we didn't actually even have a time to talk. So, anyways, it's great for having you on. Also, something I just want to point out is I was like, Eddie, dude, I want to do a show and I'd like to have you on it. And you were like, within, I think, 10 seconds, you're like, dude, I'm on. Count me in. I'll totally be there.
Say
And
less, I'm there.
yeah, you know what? I think that that really speaks something about you. I just wanted to point this out because this is something that I think you inspire me in. And I just wanted to point this out, which is, your willingness to reciprocate. I watched in doing this and just in knowing you and being in the space, I watched you do several podcasts, several, interviews, all kind of different things. And I have repeatedly seen, some interviewers say something or whatever to you, and you immediately just turn around and go, you know, and you shine the spotlight on the other person. Now, I know you're not somebody who's afraid of the spotlight. I mean, you have told me yourself, I know you're a hand. That's totally cool. That's part of that's part of who you are, right? But something that's super cool, and this is what's inspirational, is the way you turn the spotlight around and you shine it on other people. And I have seen you do it in a lot of different contexts, and I just want you to know that's inspirational to me. I just think that that's super cool, and I just wanted to tell you.
I really appreciate that. I try not to get caught doing it. Because I feel like it generate enough attention for myself, in positive strategic manners by all means that I feel like it's great to kind of distribute and ensure that we're not kind of making it too much about ourselves because without the individuals who I work with and I associate with, I kind of don't matter. And I'm realistic enough to know that. So I appreciate you saying that because it's cool to get caught, by any means, but I try to be as slick as I can because it's been very empowering when I've had leaders in the past kind of do that for me, and me trying to be the empathetic millennial that I claim to be, and bringing that forward. It's wonderful to hear that. So thank you so much. Maybe
Yeah,
I'm
no
not as slick as I
problem.
thought.
Well, you're doing everything in public, so somebody's going to see it eventually, right?
Valid point. Valid point, dude.
Yeah. So, first of all, I just wanted to give you a second to just kind of tell us about yourself. I know that you have had kind of a lot of different things in your background. You've worked in a foundry, you've done demand generation, you've done marketing, you're a sports announcer. Like, there's a lot of things in that mix of things that you're doing. So just give us give us for people who don't know you, a recap of kind of your career journey and what you're doing now.
Yeah, I mean, I'm just a passionate person who has been super experimental, never been really afraid to take risks, but also try to be as calculated as possible and kind of learning from mistakes, which sounds cliche, but I think so many of us forget these steps along the way. So whether it was starting my career, doing the college grind and realizing, man, I'm going to spend a lot of money for a piece of paper that's not going to get me nearly as far as what I need. So I was actually
Mhm.
blessed enough to be able to end my college career early and getting a job working for an aluminum foundry. That's where I kind of really got rooted within starting my career. And then a large part of that, the vast majority of what I was doing was actually sales based. And all of that really was kind of rooted either in that manufacturing component or in the selling consulting of advertising and marketing products, platforms, and services. So it gave me a big edge. And when I was in my earlier 20s, what I was really intentionally trying to do is I figured if I can get my sales chops, get my street PhD, but also get my degree and be very passionate and continue to learn more about that marketing arm, that eventually, hopefully within a decade or so, I position myself to kind of be that dual threat. And then anything else in addition to that was really just an accessory. So whether it's working for a two-person agency startup or being, and leading the marketing department for an over 11,000 person global conglomerate, I've done a little bit of everything. Made lots of mistakes, had a lot of really cool wins, worked with some incredible people along the way. But at the end of the day, I'm super proud to have branched off from that corporate level and then really create my own type of experience and starting my company, Speak Friend. We're now within the industrial space. I'm rocking any type of demand gen and content strategy for some of these struggling small or growing and scaling industrial marketers. And it really lights me up every single day, man. So lots of stuff in between there, but that's really kind of the hop, skip, and jump from where I started and kind of where I am now. So really, really happy about it and really thankful for the people and the processes that I've put myself through.
That's awesome. Yeah, I actually you brought up Speak Friend, and that was something I wanted to dive into a little as a marketing dude myself in branding. I really wanted to kind of take apart all these little elements of your personal brand and ask you to explain it, because if you go off, a lot of people go off and start a marketing company, and it would be Eddie Saunders Marketing, and yours is not only not Eddie Saunders Marketing, it's actually doing exactly what I was just talking about. It was flipping the spotlight onto the other person and saying, speak, friend. Okay, so that's interesting. Tell me about that. What's the story there? Just even with the name, what's that all about?
100%. So, one of my favorite human beings in my entire life is my grandpa, and my grandpa introduced me to the Lord of the Rings when I was very young. And so since then, I've really just been a huge fan. I've got my kids, into loving the movie series and things along those lines. I've got the memorabilia, this and that. So it's just something that I've always held on to since I was a child. And from that, I wanted to be super intentional on when I started a business because no joke, the first domain name that I bought when I knew I wanted to start my thing was EddieSaundersJr.com. Because like I thought that was going to be the move, but I said, hold on,
Yeah, makes
everybody else is
sense.
doing this. And if I'm going to be who I am, I'm going to flip that around a little bit, do something a little different. But I also wanted to be super intentional and not base it all around me because I knew that if that was going to grow or scale in any way, shape, or form, and if the universe allowed that, I wanted to be more intentional and I wanted it to be able to be something that was bigger than me. But from that point, going to the Lord of the Rings reference, that's actually a very important part within the movie. And without going into an entire
That's awesome.
thesis and theme and plot, which I could, but I don't want to.
No,
I'll
do
scare
it.
everybody there. No, don't tease me. Don't tease me.
Short version.
Um, but nonetheless, they're a team of individuals who are going on an adventure. They're stuck at this specific level, and they need to be able to get in this door. They can't figure out what the password to the door is. It's in a different language, and then the riddle, if you will, is for them to speak friend and speak friend in the word of a specific language, as soon as they solve the riddle, the door opens and they're able to continue with their journey. But for me, not only is it rooted in that specifically, and also the logo is very much reminiscent and an inspiration from the door that they walk into. So kind of a little kind of
Hmm.
hidden there, but it's more so speaking friend in the idea of empathy. And I realized too much in the manufacturing space, a lot of the marketing was based on features and benefits. Everybody was just getting featured and benefit to death. And that's all the messaging that was being thrown. But I wanted to flip that too on its head and realize, man, if we're going to begin with the end in mind and be very empathetic in our approach, why are we not listening to the individuals who we've solved their problem, extracting that information and that narrative, and then amplifying that? So we're then being super empathetic in that approach, speaking friend and speaking the tone, speaking vernacular that they would need to, and allowing them to better connect with the people who they're trying to talk to in the first place. So it's heavily rooted in primarily two things. And that's one, Lord of the Rings and my childhood love for it.
Yeah.
But two, bigger one, empathy. That's really the big thing. And there just happened to be a really cool tie in between both of them. So it was a pretty easy pick for me.
Yeah, we actually have a comment from a friend of mine, Nick Rayburn. He says, "Hi, I have that as a doormat to my studio. Speak nerd and enter."
Mm.
Yeah.
Nick, you're
So,
a gangster.
yeah, I know you are resonating with a very specific set of people who I also know. So, they're all going like, "Yeah, Lord of the Rings. That's cool." Actually, I had not even picked up on that, but now that you spell it all out, it seems so freaking obvious. I don't know. It just wasn't in my mind like, okay, this is a Lord of the Rings
Yeah.
reference.
Total undertone. Like it was never intended to be like Lord of the Rings themed. It was just a fun thing. And speaking of fun thing, look at Joseph Lou in there. Joe Lou.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Look, I have some random people too. Unknown person said, "Congrats, Eddie. It's a great first guess." And I say, I
Hey, thanks,
know,
LinkedIn user.
I know a LinkedIn user. This is why I picked him, right? He makes this stuff easy. He's so easy to talk to, dude. You're just like, you glow. Okay, so moving along on the brand. Wait, so like in your header, when it's like that, I remember this moment in the movie, right? They're going through and they come up to the door and they okay, so that header in the movie, is that like the mountains or the Misty Mountains or whatever mountains they're going through in your LinkedIn banner?
No, but that's interesting though, because it's very mountain oriented. I very much love mountains. I actually met my wife in Denver, Colorado, and that's when I fell in love with her and also the mountains in general. And so that's also where that kind of tagline comes from, move mountains with marketing. So I didn't want to get too cheesy with it, but since they do go into that door to enter mountains, I just
They
think
do.
it's fascinating, and there's some religious undertone there with with a faith the size of a mustard seed, man can move mountains, without getting too biblical. But there's
Let's
cool
get
some
biblical, bro.
spiritual roots in there as well.
There is. I mean, spirituality, faith, all those things are deep parts of what we are and who we are. And now we know who our LinkedIn user was. It's Salim. So, Salim, thanks for identifying yourself. Nobody wants to be unknown LinkedIn user. That's kind of lame, but thank you. So, also, I just wanted to dive into the most obvious, in my personal opinion, aspect of your brand, which is the giant blue Eddie E hat. Except, I wonder, is it E for Eddie or E for empathy?
Let's do C, all the above.
Yeah.
So very much so, right? And I do love my name, and of course, what is the sweetest sound to anybody is the sound of their name, if you will, for lack of better absolute correctness on the quote itself. But one thing, it's just something that I'm really kind of running with. I've gotten a couple comments that it reminds them of Alvin and the Chipmunks, how they have like their shirts with like the letter of their name or
Huh.
whatever. So it's just been a lot of fun. I never thought in a million years that people would just latch onto it, for lack of a better term, or just like recognize it,
Right.
because there's a guy who buzzes his head all the time and loves hats. Wear lots of them. But when I found one specifically that fit, because blue, I don't even like the color blue in all reality. If it was green, now we're good.
Uh,
But all that said, the E it not only continues just to help me just remind myself to be proud of who I am, be proud of my name, just be proud of my personal brand, but also reminding me that empathy still needs to be on my mind often, because it's easy for us to just claim who we are and what we're all about on socials. But but really it's putting that into practice. And so this is just one reminder of me to be the person that I say that I am being, or that is how I fall very quickly into that imposter syndrome and become that which I refuse to be, and that is an imposter.
Right. So why the emphasis on empathy, and how did you get to that? Is it just like a practical thing like, okay, empathy works, so we need to be more empathetic, or is there something deeper behind it?
So I've read lots of books behind or like around human decision making, sales and brand, like just why humans do what they do. It's something I'm honestly fascinated with, and that's why I think I very much gravitate towards marketing and the sales part of it. And then so through all that, I learned in one of the books, I can't remember which one it is off the top of my head, but it was very based off of human decision making, and it was going into the differences of sympathy and empathy. And I
Mhm.
thought, okay, so sympathy is like recognizing like she is sad, okay, but empathy is taking it a step further and inserting yourself into the feelings of others. Like, oh gosh, she is experiencing this sadness. I have felt the same thing. What would I do? What would I want? And so, to me, in all reality, once I really was presented the concept that those are very separate things and you can
Yeah.
act upon them and be very different and they're very intentional, I thought to myself, man, I could really deepen a lot of relationships with people, and deepen a lot of connections that I have by practicing not recognizing your feelings, but inserting myself into them. And I thought to myself, hold on, as the marketer and as the recovering sales guy that I am, it's my job in all reality to cue human action, to get humans to make a decision, to fill out a form, to to complete a sale, to look at something, to like a post, whatever it is. We're trying to cue human reaction and human response. And I noticed, as I said earlier, the manufacturing was featuring and benefiting everybody, just giving features and benefits left and right in the marketing. So I thought, hold on, in 2024 and beyond, I feel like empathy is a true superpower, because when everybody's focusing on themselves, why not focus on the individuals we're actually trying to talk to and not making it so much about us, but about them? And that approach
Right.
not only changed my mindset of how I do what I do on a professional level, but it changed my life on a personal level as well, and how I interacted with my wife, my children, my colleagues, the athletes who I coached, my teammates, and just everybody in general. So when something like that, you flip a switch and it continues to consistently enhance your relationships, your communication, and everything,
Yeah.
you kind of continue to work it.
Yeah. Yeah. Got some additional comments I'm just going to throw up here. Thanks, Angela. Yeah. A lot of tech vendors and modern marketers come at industrial leaders with a barrage of fear of missing out statements, trying to scare them into upgrading their marketing stacks and strategies. Being empathetic is crucial to have them open up and not close and reject your suggestions.
Don't put them
Yeah,
in your boxes. Build the box around them. That's the stamp.
yep, yep. So was there, just out of curiosity, like was there a pivotal event of some sort that was like your moment where you were like, this is wrong and it needs to be that way, right? It needs not to be us speaking to them, but it needs to be us being around them. Was there like some instance or some sort of circumstance or something like that that created that aha moment for you?
Trends and patterns, much like many things in my life. The best decisions I ever make are results of me being aware and present to trends and patterns. And it was when I discovered this new piece of information, just like I do in jujitsu. I learn a new technique. What do? I apply it. If it starts working, awesome. If I can make it better, even better. If it's not working, okay, I'm going to scrap it. So
Right.
what came about and what those trends and patterns were was getting a lot more human response. And everything I do, a lot of what I do, I should say, aside from like dark social activity that we can't really monitor, is all data driven. So I was utilizing social media to not only experiment but measure very, very closely the direct impact of new messaging, new strategies, new tactics. And
Hmm.
when you start getting more actual objective response by way of better, a data on your KPIs, it gives you more validation that what you're doing is correct. And then there's been plenty of times where I've thrown brands on my shoulders and actually humanized these brands significantly. And
Yeah.
then you have people walking in the door recognizing the human being, like, hey, here's that guy that I saw from the videos. And
Right.
that was kind of another little sprinkle and cherry on top, because all we did was not try to put Eddie in the forefront and make it all about him. Like the brand was humanized and it was given really an opportunity to be able to connect with the audience by using a solid way of communication via a human, because B2B and B2C will always be H to H, and that's human to human. So
Yeah.
recognizing that trends and patterns using data, the decision makes itself.
Yeah. And I totally agree with you. And obviously, we're a lot of us in the industrial marketing circle, which we're both in, are trying to make this change happen. So this is more of a businessy question, but what do you think the problem is? And what is the solution? How do you, if you're another industrial marketer and you're listening to this, what do they do to, I guess, help build an empathetic approach into their own marketing and branding and their company's own marketing and branding? How do you make that shift?
You have to talk to the people who have said yes. You have to talk to them. And it sounds so silly, but it's so profound, because there are so many individuals who get lost in the tactical work, where they have
Right.
to get the post it, they got to write this blog, they got to schedule this, they got to cut that, they got
100%.
to edit this, they got to do all these things. And it's all from old, outdated Rolodex type of tactics. The system is
Right.
absolutely broken, whether the way things are measured, the way things are done. If it's not broken, don't fix it type of scenario. And I'm the guy saying, hey, it's kind of broken, but
It is.
I don't want to complain, because it can be fixed. And the way we fix a lot of the bad marketing that's happening is we need to talk to the individuals who say yes. If we're talking about really on a scientific level, us trying to cue human response, if we have individuals who have been run through a communication narrative, run through a funnel, and they got to the other end and said yes, and you closed that deal, turned into business revenue, went from prospect to pipeline. If you're looking at that journey, you're already one step ahead. But the idea is, if you've taken someone from that point, they said yes, why are you not extracting as much information as possible to figure out what made you say yes, and also what could
Right.
have made you say yes faster? If you're not
Yeah.
experimenting those two big points, you're going to be featuring and benefiting the crap out of your entire audience, and they're not going to care as much.
Yeah. No, I totally agree. It's funny how much some marketing basics, like talking to your customer, understanding their decision processes, and using that info in your own marketing and your own processes, is like getting forgotten because of AI and the latest software. And nothing against AI or software. I love both of those things. But like you said, the tactics, it just takes control and dominates. Something else about your brand that I wanted to talk about, and for some reason, it stood out to me the other night when I was just thinking about this interview, is even in your name, it's Eddie Saunders Jr. And I thought, okay, I'm a junior. Okay, this is something that nobody knows. I don't go by John Joyce Jr. I feel like that's pushing the J threshold just one step too far. Maybe it's not. But you go by Eddie Saunders Jr., and I linked around on LinkedIn to see if I could find if your dad was on LinkedIn or if there was some reason like that why you would be like Eddie Saunders Jr. And he wasn't, right? And that actually spoke to me. So I thought, okay, Eddie, his dad was important to him. So I just wanted to ask you, Eddie Saunders Jr., what about your dad are you honoring, even with your own name?
Yeah, and it's so funny, because in addition to that, my grandpa, so his dad, his name is Lloyd, but he's gone by Ed his whole life.
Yeah.
And so I've been like Eddie 3.0, like
Huh?
forever. I've been called Eddie Jr., Eddie J. So like that's very much rooting back to my childhood, a lot of my family. Because obviously growing up in a house, John, as you understand, having the same name as your father, it's really cool. Like it's awesome. Like I'm so proud of it. I love my name. It's so
Yeah.
fun. Um, but there's just that other side to it where it creates some problems. So usually when I know my middle name gets thrown out, that really didn't help either, because it's my dad's name too.
Yeah.
But all that, it's been so much fun. It creates such minimal problems, because we shop in a lot of places locally, and so I have to like clarify, like Eddie Thunders Jr., like, and give him my address. And so, but I made a decision when I was 21 years old that I had a little bit of a superpower and a differentiator that was going to make my name stand out just a little bit more than everybody else. And if it was just a JR, that was going to be just enough. So I figured that made a 1% difference, and it was something I am proud of, because I totally am. I run with that, because Ed Saunders, that's my father, and I'm
Yeah.
Eddie Saunders Jr. Not to be all like stoic and historic and whatever about it,
Uh,
but I take pride in that because that makes
yeah.
me different. And that's something that not a lot of people have. And I love it because it also reminds me of my roots. It reminds me of my family and all the people who have called me, have raised me, and Eddie J. So if I'm going to be Eddie Jr., to them, I'm going to take pride with that. I'm going to fly that flag, and it makes me super happy to do it.
Yeah, that's awesome. That really is. I know your dad was also in the industrial world, right? So you have some sort of a manufacturing background, even from your family, right?
Oh yeah, like some people think that I'm just some marketing guy that for a recovering sales dude just jumped into manufacturing. People forget I was busting my knuckles in a plastics factory, when I was a kid for under
Hmm.
the table money. I'm saying doing my thing, and so right up and also worked in a foundry, and so I was no stranger to that. I mean, and it provided me a great perspective. Because I was surrounded by a lot of hardworking individuals who, taught me what hard work was in addition with my father. But it was super motivating because honestly, like working in that factory as a kid, for my childhood, so many of the other adults being like, Eddie, whatever you do, get out of here. Don't get
Huh.
comfortable. Don't stay
Yeah.
here. Don't spend your life here. Get
Right.
out. Go get your degree. Go make something of yourself so you're not like me. And these are grown men telling me
Yeah.
this. And it was super impactful. Like,
Yeah.
don't waste your life working in a factory wishing you could have done something with yourself. Like that was profound advice for me. And it was so
Yeah.
unanimous because they believed in me and saw that. So I saw, hey, with those hardworking people, I can bust my knuckles, work hard, learn some good skills just in case I need to. But I had all the forces in the I had like a bunch of uncles and aunts who were just like, Eddie, go. You have so much more to do than this. And to me,
Yeah.
that was super like humbling because it takes a lot of guts for somebody to be like, I'm in a bad situation and I don't want you to turn out like I turned out. Wonderful human beings, but think about the empathy that they provided to me in that time, and that was
Yeah.
life altering. So I have to return that.
Yeah, no, for sure. And I know people exactly like who you're talking about. I worked in a ton of factories going through college, and there's the people in those places, the people in the manufacturing world, whether you're on the shop floor really, or whether you're marketing connoisseur here like Eddie and me, you find people are just good people. Has been my experience. You get some like really good, kind of like down home, down to earth people. Also getting some additional junior love from Steve Baldwin. He's like, I'm a junior too. Look, all the juniors stand up,
Juniors
represent.
unite! We are
Exactly.
mighty.
What's this? What's this? Another LinkedIn user says, having been in that seat, marketers talking to customers is not forgotten. It's forbidden. Oh, I hope it's not forbidden. If you're forbidding your marketing team from talking to the customers, this is a critical error and a tragic mistake. There's no way that that should be forbidden. So if you're in that situation, take this video and then show it to your boss and say, dude, we need to talk to the customers. That's just a horrible thing.
That's
But on the,
disgusting. To be honest with you, that's
it
disgusting.
is. Yeah. I mean, what do you want? You want to be more out of touch with your customers? How does that make any sense? We're in here fighting the battle to reverse to reverse that very thing. Okay, so on the topic of family, just because I think family is one of those things that in these kind of work contexts we don't really talk enough about, honestly. But it's a huge component of who we are and what motivates us, and just what's really important. Because at the end of the day, whether you work a job or whether you're working for a company, a lot of the reason why you're going to work is for your family. So I just wanted to take a second and say, tell us about your family, whatever you want to share about them, and then in particular, what did they give you that you carry in to what you're doing today?
Man, so I have I don't want to be cliche, but I really do have a wonderful, loving, beautiful, and very strong wife. Like, no, physically strong, of course, but like just strong-willed,
It's all that
strong-minded,
granola.
and all that granola, you better believe it. She doesn't need me whatsoever. She keeps me around because she likes me, and that's completely okay. So completely out of my league, but just absolute wonderful woman to build a life and build a future with. And I
It's
couldn't
great.
be more proud to have pulled her from the mountains of Denver, Colorado, and
Hmm.
into the cornfields of Ohio.
Uh,
Best sale I've ever made in my life.
Seriously,
So,
dude, if you could do that, that's pretty good. How long ago was that you got married?
oh gosh, so we've been married. We'll be coming up on 8 years, and then in May we're hitting up 9 years together. So yeah.
Not May 5th, eh? It's my anniversary.
Oh yeah, it's not May 5th by any means. No, 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 no.
Oh,
Sorry.
okay.
But no worries, no worries. Good day though, good day though. So there's that. So a huge cornerstone of my life because all the combat sports announcing and all these fun little projects. Taking these trips to go do be the North American reporter for MTD. Like those are great opportunities. And a
Hmm.
lot of these things, when you see me at those, it's because I have a wonderful wife at home who is doing a phenomenal job of being, a leader in our household for our children and turning them into good human beings. Now, I'm not gone all the time, whatever, but it gives me
Right.
great pride to be able to say that I have a wonderful life partner that I'm super, really honestly pumped to be able to share life with. And then really what continues to drive me, because my wife pushes me for sure, but what drives me are my 4 children. I'm super blessed to have two older girls, 2 younger boys. Probably should have flipped it around, but my girls are they're pretty gangster. They throw pretty good leg kicks because their daddy's a kickboxing coach. But that
Yeah.
being said, my kids are awesome. I have 2 little moms that are absolute leaders, and all my 4 kids are
Mm.
so different. I'm just so proud because really, it's not like the cars and the houses and the jewelry and this and that. My trophy is my family,
Yeah.
and it is the shiniest, best, most illustrious trophy that I have, regardless of anything in the bank account, regardless of anything with the business, regardless of anything, any
Amen.
achievement, any article, whatever. My family is my trophy.
Amen. Preach it, bro. That's awesome. So our time is actually up on that note, which was an awesome note. But before we hang up here, yeah, before we hang up, I want to give you however much time you want just to tell us how people can find you. Tell us what you're looking for, the kind of customers, the kind of work you're interested in doing, and how people can find you if they're interested in working with you or even just want to get to know you better.
100%. As you said earlier, I do not hide. And then a quick little fun fact as related to that. I did a survey on LinkedIn and specifically to industrial marketers, and over 67% of you said that you would love to spend more time, if you had it, on content development and strategy. And so that's exactly what I left my corporate
Hmm.
job to do, to be able to work specifically with manufacturers who are trying to create a more extensive and intentional and strategic demand generation and content strategy. We're not talking about making cute little Facebook posts. There are levels to this. I've done it. You've seen me do it. You've watched me do it. And now I'm taking that same playbook and giving it to small to medium sized and even global manufacturers and loving every second of it. Don't hide by any means. You can go check me out or check out my website at speakfriend.io or find me Eddie Saunders Jr. right on LinkedIn. Super easy. And even if you want to set up some time, I made it so easy you can schedule a call with me in 30 seconds or less.
It is easy. I've been on your website. It's like, click, yeah, call me now. Yeah,
It's that easy. So you
do
all
it.
got it.
Go
Pleasure.
out there and do it, people. Eddie, thank you, man. This was a gift from you to me. So thank you. I appreciate it being my first guest on my first show. And just, wish you all the best. And I know I'm going to see you out there. So everybody who tuned in, thank you. I just appreciate your support, and we'll see you out in LinkedIn land.